This is Rise Vision's Advanced Tips and Tricks 2.0. This is our second iteration of this webinar. It was very popular back when we did it in August. Welcome. If you're just joining us, drop in the chat where you're joining us from. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Jennifer. I'm the Growth Marketing Manager here. I'm going to be in the background working on things. Shea is our subject matter expert today. He is the Chief Revenue Officer. He's been with the company for how long's it been now, Shea? 10 years? So you're our expert. So he's going to be leading this conversation and giving you some tips and tricks. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let us know. Shea, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, welcome everybody. So like Jennifer said, if you have any questions, put it in the chat or use the Q&A feature. We're going to make this pretty interactive. There's not going to be very many slides or anything like that. It will be fairly fast-paced. We want to try and cover as much content as possible. If you were at our event in August, some things might be repeated from the last time we did this. There's a lot of new people attending, so we want to try and cover some of those things that we covered last time as well. If you are on LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I just put a link to my profile in the chat. I try to share tips, tricks, stories every week there, so it's a good way to stay up to date. Yeah, this webinar, there's a lot of different skill levels joining. Like what might be advanced for one person is basic for another, but our goal really is that everybody leaves having learned at least one useful tip. I'm going to go through the app kind of page by page, share tips as I go. We've made a lot of changes to the product in the last few months, so I'll cover some of those as well. I'm going to try and cover as much content as I can in 40 minutes so that we have about 20 minutes for Q&A at the end. There was a lot of questions at the last one, so I want to make sure we have lots of time for questions. And with that, we will dive in. Starting with the presentations page, I think everybody can see my screen here. One of the things that I'm going to call out that a lot of people don't realize about Rise Vision is all of our presentation, or not all of our presentations, many of our presentations actually support portrait. So when you're in the app, you can use the filters to filter on presentations that support portrait. So here, if you go to category and then responsive, so just click on that. Any presentation that is in this responsive category is going to support a portrait display. What's nice about these presentations as well is you can embed them into other content that you create in like a portrait zone, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is a presentation that I created. I actually started just from a blank image with this, so that the full screen image template is what I started from. And then what I did to create this design is in the background, I used Canva to create a layout. So I wanted one big zone here where I could put some landscape content. And then I wanted a little zone on the right-hand side. And this is a portrait dimension. So I used the position feature in Canva to set the height, width, and X and Y coordinates for this area. And so that's perfectly sized so that our templates will fit in there and look really nice. And then on the bottom, I just have this bar where you could put like images, ads, that kind of thing. So in the design here on the right-hand side, I've embedded a couple different presentations. So I've got like a calendar and I've got social media followers. And you can see here, this is the preview of what that looks like. So this right here is one of our calendar templates. So when you're in the gallery, it looks like it's landscape, but it'll actually work on portrait, displays, full screen, or in a portrait area of a presentation. And then here you have our social media followers content as well. So this is a brand new feature that just came out. And on the right-hand side, you had the followers for Instagram and Facebook. And then in the middle here, this is our new Facebook and Instagram post component. So this is the way that you can show posts from a Facebook page, a Facebook profile, and an Instagram page. And I'll show you what that looks like right here. Oops. So this is the social media posts component. So when you're getting going, you're just going to click add feed, and then you'll select a page, a profile, or your Instagram account. So I've added the Rise Vision Facebook page, and I've added the Rise Vision Instagram page here. So that's what you're seeing in the preview here. Now, you can show these in a nice waterfall layout or a single post. You can control the scroll speed, decide if you want to show old posts. There's a number of tools here that are fairly flexible. Now, some of our customers have multiple Facebook pages. You are able to connect with any Facebook page that you are the admin of. You can only show one Facebook page in each component. So let's say you had 3 schools, each with a separate Facebook page. What you would do is you would just add more of the social media post components, and you would connect to each Facebook page one at a time in each of those components. Now you might also see here, there's like some ads playing. You can see it in the preview right here. Some of our customers actually use Rise Vision to display ads to offset the cost of their digital signage. There are some different services out there that you can use that integrate with Rise Vision just as the URL to show ads. If anybody's ever interested in exploring something like this, just reach out to our team through our website, sales@risevision.com, and we can make a connection there for you. All right. I'm going to jump to my next presentation here.
There's
All
just
right.
a new question from Joe. So Joe, we do have a weekly training session. It's on Thursdays, and it would be the perfect place to start. It walks you through getting everything set up and through all of the basics. So that's on Thursday. Shay just dropped that link in the chat.
Perfect. All right, now I'm going to cover a few different ways of showing data with Rise Vision. So this is a really common use case in a corporate setting for businesses, manufacturing, that kind of thing. You could show a project management dashboard, a help desk portal, status pages, KPI dashboards, that sort of thing. So this is one of our most popular zoned layouts here. And in this playlist, I have 3 different components. So the first one is a web page. And this is a web page that I just built yesterday. And it's very simple, but it has a username and a password that you have to enter to access the data. So once you enter the username and password, now you're able to see the dashboard with different information. So if you have proprietary information that you want to keep secure, but you also want to put on your digital signage, you can use our authenticated web pages feature. So to add that, you're going to click add, and then you're going to add a web page here. Once you add the web page, then you'll click allow authentication, and you will enter your username and your password in Rise Vision and click update. Then what Rise Vision is going to do is use that to securely show your dashboard on your digital signage. Another way that you can show data with Rise Vision is with our Power BI integration. So if you are a business that uses Power BI, or some school districts use Power BI, and you want to show data on your digital signs, the Power BI integration is great to do this. Currently, it only supports Power BI dashboards. We are working on the ability to show Power BI reports, and we expect that to release in the next couple of months here. So very soon, you'll be able to show Power BI reports, which has been a really common request from our customers. And then the third piece of content that I'll highlight is Google Sheets. So this is actually an embedded presentation. So I'm going to go right to that presentation. So we recently released the ability to integrate Google Sheets with Rise Vision templates. So this one is showing employee anniversaries, right? So everybody that has an anniversary in February and their years of service. And this is pulling from a Google Sheet that I created. What's great about this is it's very easy to delegate the updates to someone else in your organization without them having to have full access to Rise Vision or like log into software that they're unfamiliar with. They can just straight from a Google Sheet enter the information that they need to enter, and then it gets updated on the displays. So this is perfect for menus, birthdays, anniversaries, any kind of data you want to show in columns. All right. Now, the next demo that I'm going to give
Shay,
is,
just
yep.
One question before you move on. We did have a question about credentials. So if we're logging into another page or a dashboard, does Rise Vision store those credentials?
Does Rise Vision store those credentials? That's a good question. Let me follow up with you after this webinar. I just want to talk to our development team about how that's working exactly.
All right, perfect. Go ahead, Shay.
Okay, so this next demo that I'm going to give, one of the requests that we get every now and again is for the ability to show interactive content on a display. Things like a directory or a donor wall or a wayfinding display or a Hall of Fame. And often what people do when they want to show interactive content, they go hire an agency like a web developer to build a web page and then use Rise Vision to show it. Or sometimes they won't use Rise Vision. They'll go find specialty software for interactive screens. That can be quite expensive. And of course, hiring a developer can be expensive. So I wanted to show people an interesting low cost way and very simple to create interactive content in Rise Vision. And what that looks like is actually a Google slideshow. Very simple. So this is, I spent, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes yesterday putting this together as an example of a directory that you could create for your organization using a Google slideshow. And you could repurpose like an old interactive flat panel display, buy a new touchscreen, a tablet, something like that, install Rise Vision on it, and you have an interactive display. Once you've created your Google slideshow, or I should actually say to create the Google slideshow, what you'll do is add your buttons, and these buttons will link to different slides within your Google slideshow. So here, this is the homepage of my directory. So I have the sales team information, the customer success team information, and our support team. And then you have the sales specific directory with a button to return home to that first slide, or a link to view details about a specific person on the team. Now, the way that you would then add this to Rise Vision is just with our full screen Google Slides template, or you could put this in a zone. It's very flexible. There's a lot of different ways you could do this, and this is what it looks like. And then let me show you a quick demo of this. So here's a little demo of the directory. I click sales, it takes me to the sales team page. I click Corey, we get to learn more about Corey. And then I want to go back to home, and I go back to home. And then in the settings, what you likely want to do is show each slide for 60 seconds or maybe 120 seconds, something like that. So if someone's interacting with it, they won't lose where they are, but it also at the same time will just cycle through the different content so that people walking by can see the information within it. So yeah, there's a very easy way to create some interactive content.
Shay, the interactive content is super cool. I think it has a lot of really great use cases. In terms of hardware, what do you need for the basics to get an interactive display going and be interactive?
Yeah, a touch screen and a media player, or a touch screen with a media player built in. A lot of schools have like interactive flat panels lying around. That's a good option for you. You could buy like an Android tablet. I saw a question just came in about an iPad with touch. We don't currently support iPads, but if you bought like an Android tablet, that's going to be lower cost than an iPad and it'll work with that use case. All right, so I'm going to just jump back to what I was showing previously, the Google Sheets, because there was a question about when sharing a Google Sheet, will it share the whole sheet or just what is selected? When you are connecting your Google Sheet, you're going to see that there's a link here to download an example. This link will show you exactly how to, so it'll download like a CSV for you. You can import that into your Google Sheet, and it'll show you exactly how to format your data so that it pulled in the right information. So in this specific template, it's only going to pull in information from the first two columns in a Google Sheet. It won't look at data from the other columns.
Perfect. I think that answers Angela's question. Speaking of Google Sheets, Joe wants to know if they can pull data from Excel, from OneDrive, or from Teams.
All right. Yeah, so Excel, we don't currently support pulling from OneDrive or Teams, but our product team is always looking for feedback like that, so we'll make sure that makes it to them. So this is one of the features that's coming soon, which is the ability to show a live stream. So this has been one of our most requested features recently. People are looking for the ability to show like an HLS live stream. This is great for a corporate town hall, a live sports event, a broadcast on a campus. I've seen requests come in for showing feeds from security cameras on the digital signs. One really unique one was someone wanted to show a live stream of a 3D printer working. So a lot of different use cases for this. This haven't been released yet, but is going to be coming very soon. And so this is the ability to show an HLS live stream. So it's very simple. The component is available in the playlist, and it will be down here at the bottom, video streaming. Once you get your streaming URL, you're just going to enter that in here, and then you can control the volume of your stream. This is an exciting new feature that's going to be coming in just the next couple of weeks.
Very exciting. Shay Tarita has a question. She's interested in being able to broadcast via the media player a Teams meeting. So with this new feature, would that be something that she could do that with?
It's a good question.
Wow, people are just
I'm
really
not
asking the hard question.
Yeah, so, we use Slack at Rise Vision. I'm not super familiar with Teams and if it's, able to produce a live stream URL. Sharita, I'll have to follow up with you after this webinar about that question. That's a good one. And then Amy asked, will it have a way to set the time to start and end on the live stream? My understanding is that those features won't be built in here, but what you can do is in the schedule, when you add it, you'll be able to say start at like a specific time and end it at a specific time. And I'm pretty sure it's also going to support play until done, which is that feature in Rise Vision that ends content when it's finished automatically. And then Wendy asked about a plan to add folders to the presentations tab. So that is on the roadmap. Right now, it's scheduled for this year. Looks like it'll be the second half of this year, but the ability to organize presentation schedules, displays is definitely on the roadmap.
Too far ahead. I just wanted to go back to the spreadsheet, and you were talking about that. Kendra dropped in the Q&A. Will the sheets, does it only pull vertically from the columns, or can you pull like horizontal content or from the rows?
I'm pretty sure it's all column based.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kendra, let us know if that answers your question.
yeah. And then Bob asked, will live streams also have audio? Yep. So there's let me show you that again. There's a volume control here, so you'll be able to control from Rise Vision, and then you'll also have the ability to control the TV if you'd like. Okay. And then Jenny said, when I upload a PowerPoint, it starts out really small and then I have to stretch it out. Let me take a look at that. So yeah, typically when you add something to Rise Vision for the first time, it's going to add in just like a small box like that, and you'll have to adjust the box to the size that you want. So that's to be expected, Jenny. If you wanted to just go full screen right from the start, what I would recommend is starting from the PowerPoint full screen template, because this has it preset to be full screen. So this is gonna make it look really great right off the jump, full screen. And then you can always embed this content into an area. Okay, Jenny said she did use this template. When you're using this template, you want to just make sure you're not adding a PowerPoint on top. Just go into this PowerPoint setting right here and add it in there, and it'll go full screen. All right. Okay. And on PowerPoints, will the animations ever be able to play in Rise Vision? Good question. I will have to check on it with our product team on that, if animations are on the roadmap. Okay, so Nathan asked, how can we embed full screen content like a scrolling calendar to a template? So great question, Nathan. Let me show you how we can do that. So I'll add a calendar to my account. So here's the full screen calendar. And then I'll add a zoned presentation to my account. So once you've done that, what you want to do, click the big gray box that says playlist, add, and then presentation, and then calendar, and add. And now your calendar has been added to that zone. George asked if there's any way to play ESPN on a display. So George, I know that that's not currently possible. What I've seen some people do is show YouTube Live or YouTube URLs on their display for sports content. Or some people, if they're able to access an embed for a stream, they'll use the HTML component to embed it. But you do have to be careful about licensing rules, especially for things like ESPN. A lot of that content is licensed, and showing it in a public setting through a tool like Rise Vision, you can sometimes be in breach of those licenses.
Shay, do you want to continue with your content for the next 20 minutes, or do you want to just veer off and answer some questions? Because we do have some in the Q&A, but we can wait to the end.
Yeah, I'll answer a couple more of these questions, and then I'll keep going. Derek asked, can you combine presentations? For example, I have a Google slideshow that runs perpetually, but if I want to add a short video in between slides, is that possible? Derek, for that use case, what I would recommend is a schedule. In your schedule, what you'll do is add in your Google Slides. Just pretend that this today calendar is a Google slideshow. Click add, and then leave the duration as play until done. That way it plays all the slides before moving to the next item in the schedule, and set the timeline to whatever you're looking for. Click add, and then you would come in here, you would go add presentation, and then you would add your video. So pretend this HLS stream is just a video, add, add, and now once I save this, when it's showing on the display, what it'll do is it'll show all of your Google slideshows. When it's done, then it will move on to the video. When that's done, it'll go back to the Google Slides and it'll rotate just like that. Yeah.
Brian's question sounds
So
complicated.
Brian asked, is there a way to have a multi-timed override schedule so I can add two start and stop times? So the first starts at 5 and ends at 5:30, and the second starts at 6:15 and ends at 7, instead of having two separate schedules for it. Good question, Brian. I would probably recommend two separate schedules for this. What you could test doing is having an override replace schedule. It sounds like that's what you're looking for. And then setting the timeline from 5 p.m. to 7, so that full range. This might work for you. Just pretend that 7:30 is 7. And then adding your playlist items, and here for the first one, say start at 5 and end at 5:30, and then add your second one in and say start at 6:15 and end at 7. I think that might work, but I would I would just want to test it first. Okay, Jeffrey asked, what's the best way to create an animated presentation like the ones that Rise Vision makes? Yeah, good question, Jeffrey. Google Slides can be pretty good for that. It lets you add the animations and that kind of thing. So that can be like a good way of doing it. Canva is another one. They have some animation features built in. All of our presentations are built with code, of course, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you are proficient with any of those, that can be a really good way to create animated content. So there are a few options there for you. Okay, I want to just show one other feature that is a little bit hidden and sometimes people don't know about. So if you are, let's say, like um, a school district, or maybe you are a corporation and you have a headquarters and then you have different locations throughout the country, and you want to share content from the district account with the school, or from your corporate headquarters with all the different locations, you can create content in your district account and then click these three dots and click Save Presentation as Template. And once you do that, your subcompanies, I'll just go to a subcompany of my account here, are able to go add presentation and then shared templates. And they can add the content that you create to their account. And then from there, they can customize different pieces of it. So if you're creating content at the parent level, this is a great way to share it down with your subcompanies. And then another way that you can share content down with subcompanies is through schedules. So maybe you have specific content that you want all of your locations to show, and you don't want them to be able to edit it, because with the method that I just showed, they would be able to edit it. Then what you can do is create a schedule in your parent account and click distribution, and then select displays from all companies. And now you can see here, I'm able to add this schedule to a display in one of my sub companies. And so what I would want to do here is say, okay, this is an include schedule. So it's just I'm inserting my corporate or district content into the loop of my school or other location. And so that way, if you're like a district communications person or someone like that, you're able to push your content down and the sub company isn't able to edit it. Can company branding be carried on through sub-companies? So this method that I'm showing here through the schedule will carry the parent company branding down. This method here, it's going to use like the sub-company branding. Okay, one other tip that I'll show just real quick. What you'll what you often see in organizations is like they want to put together guidelines for their digital signage so that people know what is the signage for. If I have something that I want to put on it, how do I do that? What are the best practices for it? So if you are unfamiliar with creating guidelines for digital signage, a tool like ChatGPT or Claude, something like that can be a great way to put together a first draft that you can edit. So this is one that I put together yesterday. So I was like, pretend I'm a school district with multiple schools and I have digital signage in my school district. I want to put together guidelines for my district digital signage that explains what the content has to be, what the best practices are, where my signs are, how to get help for it, and frequently asked questions. And this is something that you can put in like an internal knowledge base or share with employees so that if there's a upcoming sporting event or an upcoming employee event that someone wants to put on the signage, they know, okay, I can get my message onto the signage. I have to just follow these instructions. So just a little suggestion there. Brian asked, could these sub companies be used to keep departments in a single school separated? Lower school, middle school, upper school, to keep the presentations list cleaner and less folders are coming. Brian, some people do separate like a single school or a single business into multiple sub companies by departments. That is one way of doing it to keep everything really separate. Folders are coming. So if you don't want to separate everything out, you might just want to wait for folders, but it's your call on how you like to structure that. My recommendation typically is don't go that granular unless you really have to and you have a problem with people deleting or changing things that they shouldn't be.
Shay, I just want to go back to Brian's comment about separating it to keep this. If you have a single school and you want to break it into lower school, middle school, upper school. We did talk to a couple of different schools last year in the webinar. We had a webinar, sorry, and we talked to a couple different schools. And one of the strategies that they're doing is they break out their displays or they label their displays based on where in the school they are. So they might have a hallway that's just sixth graders or the middle school or the elementary school. So that's how they break out their content is from the display side. They know that this TV is in the middle school wing, so that's how they segment their content. So that could be an option as well.
Okay, and then I noticed that there was a few questions in the Q&A that we missed. So Jim asked, is there a way to pull from X and or Instagram and make the slide fit as a more landscape version in Rise? So we don't have an X integration currently, but we do have an Instagram integration. So if you're looking for a more landscape layout, this social media single is going to be a great option for you. You can go my social media posts, add feed, Instagram, and then connect with Instagram, and this will start pulling in our Rise Vision Instagram account. So that's a great way to do that. And then Stephen asked, will we ever be able to cast to Promethean boards? Currently, Rise Vision works on the Promethean AP7. It does not work on the AP9, but we are working to get that fixed. Hope to have an update in the next couple months here. And then Jim asked a question, is it possible to share presentations and or schedules between all Rise Vision companies in our organization? So I think I just showed a couple ways of accomplishing that, but if I missed anything, just let me know.
For Chad's question, I think this might have been asked in the chat as well. And I did actually ping our support team to answer this question. And one of the suggestions that they came or they said, so Chad, this might have been your question too, but it says my PC is always signed in to Office 365. When I connect an Outlook calendar, it uses my credentials to connect. Is there a way to change which ID and password it uses? So I think this is asking the same thing, Chad. Support isn't aware of a way to accomplish this, but they did suggest trying a private browsing window. Your credentials are locked in. So you need to go into a private or an incognito window and then log in that way so you could enter in different credentials. Hopefully that helps you there.
Mary asked, is licensing done per building? Mary, in K through 12, we have a special plan. We have our unlimited plan. This is only available to K through 12, and it's sold per school. So if your district has 3 schools and you want unlimited displays in all three, then you would buy 3 unlimited licenses. Okay, and then George asked, I see the sports schedule on your screen. Where does it pull info from? So this pulls from an Outlook calendar or a Google Calendar. So if you have it's designed for a school with upcoming sporting events, that kind of thing. What you can do actually is if there's like a specific team you like to follow, sometimes those teams will have a ICS feed of their upcoming games, and you can take that feed, sync it to the Google Calendar, and connect that to Rise Vision so you can see like when upcoming games are happening for teams that you're interested in. And then Guillermo asked, do you recommend a maximum number of presentations per display? How much is too much slash too long? Okay, Guillermo, great question. That ties into another little AI tip that I have. This is really like context dependent. What is too much or too long is going to depend on like the setting that the display is in. So this is a cool way that you can use like a chat GPT. So here I gave it a prompt. I said, I'm a transportation company with 100 locations. I'm using digital signage to communicate with my employees and drivers in all of the locations. I have signs in my corporate office and then in the terminals. Help me create the ideal playlist. The hallway, you're going to want a shorter playlist duration, like maybe a couple minutes showing each slide for I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds, something like that. Think of it more like a billboard on the side of the highway. Like people are walking by, they're gonna glance and digest the information. They aren't gonna typically stop, stand, and stare at the TV. Some people might, but it's more gonna be like a quick glance to capture information. So you're gonna want shorter there. Now in a break room, a cafeteria, something like that, a waiting room for a dentist office or a principal's office at a school where someone is sitting down and they're like a captive audience. That is where you can really have a longer playlist duration, keep the content longer, 30, 60 seconds per slide. Instead of all full screen, a zoned layout can work really well in those settings because that way you can like show some entertaining content, show some important content. You can have some extra words on the screen and it can be a little bit longer. So you really want to tailor your schedule to like how long is someone going to be sitting or in that area looking at the TV? Let me know if that helps answer your question. The one other thing that I'll mention is you do have to think a little bit about like how powerful is your media player. So some of our customers love the Raspberry Pi device. It's very low cost, but one of the issues with it is it's not as powerful. So if you put 40 presentations on the Raspberry Pi, it's going to suffer some like severe performance problems and the content is not going to show as well. You'll see stutters and that kind of thing. Whereas if you buy like a $500 Windows PC or like the Rise Vision media player or something like that, then you're going to be able to put, 20, 40 presentations on it and it should work better. There are caveats to that. It depends a little bit on what's in the presentation exactly and are you optimizing your content as much as possible. What I mean by optimizing the content, I'll show you like a quick example of that. Whoops. On this image full screen, when you go here, like the recommended image size is 3840 by 2160. So what that means is you should, like for the best performance, resize your images to be 4K. This is the 4K resolution. If you were to put like a 20,000 pixel by 20,000 pixel image in here, it's a really big file that the media player has to download and then render. And so it becomes more difficult for the media player to do that, especially if you're adding like 40 or 50 of those images into the display.
Yeah. And the last
And
thing I want
then
to mention for Guillermo is we are going to have a webinar in April. We're going to have one of our Rise Vision designers, and he is going to be sharing some best practices and tips on creating like the most stunning digital signage. So I would recommend keeping an eye out for that and attending that session as well, because we will cover stuff, how many presentations you should have and how much content is too much.
Yeah, so we also just if you are using a kind of a lower end device and you want to get more out of it, we have this help article, best practice on how to improve performance on low power devices. Check it out if you are using budget devices. This is a great way to like really get the most out of those. Logan asked performance issues with Airtame as well. So Logan, the Airtame hub tends to perform better than the Airtame 2. The Airtame 2, we do put in that like low power category. It does struggle a little bit with the more demanding presentations. O'Brien said, love the Rise Vision media players. So Brian, thanks for the shout out. Glad that you like those. They are, yeah, they're a very solid little device. George asked, what is Apple TV compatible? So Rise Vision supports Apple TV. Unfortunately, like the Apple TV operating system is very locked down. So you for us to build an app for it is much more difficult than to build an app for an Android media player or something like that. And so we aren't able to support the same amount of content on Apple TV that we can on other devices. So this Apple TV compatible checkbox shows you the templates that you are able to use on an Apple TV. You are able to install Rise Vision on an Apple TV. There's a great help article here that walks you through how to do that. And if you use Mosel or Jamf as your device management tool, you're able to deploy Rise Vision through that as well. Okay. Kendra asked, is there a way to star or favorite a presentation? No, not right now, but that's a great suggestion. I'll make sure that gets to our product team.
Shay, I really love this question. If we want to display sensitive information that's only meant for our department members, is there a way to conceal that information from Rise Vision? So I just want to say we don't go through and look at customers' presentations unless there's an issue, then the support team gets involved and they might see your account. But
Yeah,
Shay, do you have
I
any,
mean,
what would you say for that?
so what I've seen some people do is if you have proprietary information you don't want the Rise Vision support person to see, if you post that content locally and then show it as a URL in Rise Vision, so like you're showing like the local IP address of the server it's on, that's a great way to do it. That keeps the content only visible to people that are on your network, and no one else in your Rise Vision account is going to be able to see it. Even if you're at home looking at your own Rise Vision account, you wouldn't be able to see it because you're on a different network.
Yeah, that's probably the best bet to hide information is to have it be on the network.
Yeah. And then Austin asked, I'm showing a web page that I have to provide credentials to log in and it displays a map. It displays correctly, but is zoomed way out. Can I zoom in on the image through Rise Vision? So Austin, not currently, but that's a good feature request. I'll pass that on to our product team. If you have control over the web page at all, I would try and zoom it in through the code that controls that web page. Um, yeah, that'd be my suggestion there. All right.
Some
And then
really good
Jason,
questions coming in.
yeah. Jason asked, any configuration settings for TV, such as sleep settings? We have issues with our smart TVs shutting off or going to sleep every couple of days. Haven't had any luck with a resolution. Um, Without knowing the model of TV, it's a little hard to diagnose what might be going on there. We do have a feature called display control. Not all TVs and media players support it, so just you'd have to check to make sure that it works with your devices. What display control does is it allows you, so if I wanted to set display control on all my devices, I'd click this and then these three dots and then enable display control. And what this does is it allows you to have your devices turn on and off TVs on a specific schedule. So this is a great way to get more life out of a TV because if it isn't on as long, then it's going to last longer and also save power. So you can set this to work off of your schedule in Rise Vision. So if I have a schedule here, like this one right here, this is set to show every day from 5 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And so like the TV behind me, and I have one on the ground there, it's going to turn off every night at 5:30 and it'll turn on automatically every morning at 5 a.m. If you are having issues with this, though, I definitely recommend reaching out to our support team because they can work with you one-on-one to try and troubleshoot it with your specific hardware and get it working for you. They're fantastic. They get back to you within an hour. You just go, yeah, Jennifer put the support@risevision.com email there, or in the app, just click help and then contact us, and you can open a ticket with our support team. The other feature on this displays page that I'll call out as well is our display monitoring. So again, select all your displays and then click set monitoring. What this will do is if your displays go offline, you'll get a notification. So this is really helpful for, like, I don't know, the power goes out, the internet drops, there's a problem with the media player or something like that. That way you get notified and you can go fix it before anyone notices. All right. Any other questions in the Q&A? Wow, they're coming in fast.
Yeah, speaking of the display control, Shay, Jamie's wondering, would the on-off display, does that work with Promethean boards and other IFPs?
Yeah, it should. Yeah. It won't. So Promethean, we don't support the AP9, but it should work with the other models.
All right, there you go, Jamie.
And then Steven said, my students want to create a pre-recorded morning news program that would be on our YouTube channel. I know I can get that onto our current TVs, but is there a way to cast Promethean boards through Rise Vision? So Steven, if it's an AP7, it'll work. We just can't run on the AP9 currently. So you would just install Rise Vision on your Promethean boards and then use likely like an override schedule and set that override schedule to start at, I don't know, let's say 9 a.m. and your morning news program is 5 minutes, end it at 9:05, and it'll turn on, play the broadcast, and then turn off.
Shay, for the Promethean, would Stephen be able to use the YouTube live integration if that morning news is on
Yes,
YouTube?
so Stephen could, it mentions that it was a pre-recorded
Yeah.
program, so probably don't need the live here, but if you do have a live broadcast, we are able to show a live broadcast, which is a great feature. And then David asked, is there a way to set the notification for all displays at once? So David, yeah, you can. So click show all displays from all companies. Now, if you have 100 displays in here, you have to scroll through to load them all into the view. It doesn't, like by default, I think we load 20, and then when you scroll, it'll load like more of them. So just make sure you scroll all the way and then click this checkbox to select all. And you'll see here it says for selected. So if you have 100 displays and it only selected 20, then just keep scrolling until all 100 are loaded and it should work. And then Sean asked, is there a way to set up a presentation to post on a certain date and then stop on a certain date? Great question. Yes, there is. So in here, what you would do is on the timeline, you would say, okay, I want this to start on February 19th and I want it to end, let's say tomorrow. So it'll start showing today and it will end showing tomorrow. So this is great. Valentine's Day just happened. Let's say you have a Valentine's Day presentation that you want to have go on your display a couple days before Valentine's Day and come off the day after Valentine's Day. You would just add the Valentine's presentation to your schedule and then set the timeline on it.
And Shay, how granular can you get with that? Can you set it down to the minute?
Yeah, you can. So quite granular. Start date, end date. You can pick the specific start time and end time too on those days. But yeah, quite granular.
Nice. All right, we have just 7 minutes left. So if you do have a question that we haven't answered, drop it in the chat right now and Shay will power through them as fast as he can. Shay, is there anything else that you want to demo or show us today?
Yeah, so one thing that I will share, and this is a new feature that has come out. We did a webinar on it, this screen sharing. This is brand new. Rise Vision now has the ability to act as like a screen sharing service. So this is similar to Airtame, Immersive, Barco, ScreenBeam, solutions like that built, but we've built it right into Rise Vision. We have a few different ways of doing this. There's like a standard mode where you enter a pin to connect, or there's a moderator mode where you can control who is able to share their screen. So if you're in like a classroom and you want to say, okay, John, you are able to share, you have that ability. So I'll show you what this looks like. So here you'll see the display behind me, just updated. And I've got a Google slideshow here that I'm clicking through on my computer. Oh, well, you can't see that. Let me just make sure you can see the Google slideshow I'm clicking through. There we go. And then behind me, the display is changing as well. So this is great for a meeting room, classroom, collaboration space. offices, that sort of thing. This also runs on like all of the hardware that we support except Apple TV. So it's can be a really cost-effective solution because you could buy like one of our Avocor displays, which has a media player built in, and then you get signage, emergency alerts, screen sharing, and this hardware all together. Or if you have an Amazon signage stick or the Rise Vision media player, these different devices, you can use screen sharing on those very low cost devices. So this is one of the new features that we've come out with.
All right, we have one question left from Chad. I just want to do my final spiel before we answer Chad's question so we don't run out of time. So this webinar will be recorded, or it is being recorded. It will be sent out. So you will get that email before the weekend. If you have any other questions, you can respond to the email and ask us, and we will get you in touch with the right person. And if you're not following us on LinkedIn, you should be following us on LinkedIn because we do share different tips and tricks all the time, different stories from customers, use cases, all that kind of good stuff. And we do have monthly webinars every month on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you like this kind of format with the more casual and being able to ask questions, we are going to be launching a new program in May. It's going to be called Office Hours with Alex and Rob, and those are our customer success managers, and they're going to be sharing more advanced tips and tricks, how to do things, answering your questions, and that's going to be done live. So something exciting to look forward to. Shea, why don't you answer Chad's question? He's running into issues with a birthday presentation.
Okay, so I'm gonna just before I jump to that, there was one
Please.
question about screen sharing I'm gonna answer. David said, "What is the longest amount of time that a screen sharing session will last without having to be restarted? Is there a Windows app separate from web page that should be used for this feature?" So our screen sharing, it's all done from a web page, the ability to share in just from here in our app. So you don't need a separate app for it. In terms of how long, there isn't a limit on how long a screen sharing session should typically last. You might be in a quick meeting where it's like a quick 10-minute share or something like that, or in a classroom where a teacher is sharing a presentation for an hour. There was an issue reported earlier this week where someone was experiencing screen sharing sessions dropping and they had to restart it. Our development team is looking into that issue and they're working to fix it so that you won't have it won't drop. It'll just keep running if you're using it for an extended period of time. And then Chad asked, I have a birthday presentation. It will display even if there isn't a birthday on the particular day on the calendar I have it linked to. Can I turn that off? Chad, interesting problem. I think if you are using our calendar templates and you have this set to play until done, if there's no events in the calendar, it should end pretty quickly, like within seconds. If that isn't happening, just reach out to our support team and they can take a look at that. And then George asked, is there a way to stream a camera feed from one space to another, for example, for overflow viewers that could not fit in the theater, so we sat them in the gym? George, this is coming. This is that live streaming feature that I showed earlier. I think that'll be a great feature for your use case where like you have a sporting event that you want to broadcast. So it's a video streaming, and this is coming very soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shay. This has been really informative. I think you helped solve a lot of problems, and I hope that everybody left with one little nugget of knowledge that they didn't have before. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out. Our support team answers within 1 business hour, and they live to answer questions. If you're not following us on LinkedIn, you should be because we post tips all the time. Thank you again, Shay. We will see you, and thank you all for attending. This has been great. Talk to you all later.
Thank you. Bye.